But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it.
You let them in.
President, open your
You
mouth.
let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit. I want to make a quick clarification about the neo-Nazis at the Turning Point event. They were outside protesters. My point was more metaphorical, that you embraced them at your thing, I felt.
But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and it was totally baked and half baked and you went on stage with it and just
It all came crashing down after Whoopi made some bold comments during a live segment, lumping Turning Point USA and its student attendees in with protesters that had nothing to do with them. The reaction? Swift, fierce, and unforgiving. Charlie Kirk, the face and fire of Turning Point USA, wasn't having any of it. Instead of brushing it off, he brought out the legal sledgehammer, launching a $100 million lawsuit that made headlines instantly. And this wasn't some hollow threat. Kirk meant business. He slammed the show for dragging thousands of high school and college students through the mud with zero evidence. That lawsuit hit harder than anyone expected. Then came the apology, or at least what The View tried to pass off as one. A weak, mumbled admission on live TV from Whoopi that left viewers scratching their heads and critics shaking theirs in disbelief. Whoopi's attempt to patch things up came off more like damage control than genuine regret.
Welcome back. In Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me, and it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So, my bad. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So, the state...
And Charlie Kirk wasn't buying it, not even for a second. He made it clear that it wasn't about his feelings. It was about protecting young people who were unfairly smeared on national television. And that message resonated far beyond political lines. But just when the media thought the fire was dying down, Joe Rogan showed up and dumped a barrel of gasoline right on top of it. Rogan, known for never backing down, caught wind of the whole debacle and absolutely tore into Whoopi with his signature sarcasm and razor-sharp commentary. He mocked her apology, questioning how a media powerhouse like her could get away with throwing such baseless accusations and then expect forgiveness with a few vague words. Rogan wasn't just tossing out jokes, he was breaking the entire situation down with the kind of brutal honesty that leaves no survivors. He called it exactly what it was, a media mess created by carelessness and arrogance. He slammed the double standards in mainstream media, pointing out how some voices always seem to get a free pass, while others get dragged for far less. The hypocrisy was impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, Whoopi stayed mostly silent as the backlash grew louder. She didn't fire back or clarify, just silence that made everything worse. Rogan didn't slow down. He said the real issue was how fast media figures throw accusations and how slow they are to take responsibility when the truth finally catches up. While fans of The View tried to defend her, the clips of her original comments and Rogan's brutal response were spreading like wildfire across social media. Charlie Kirk wasn't letting up either. He hit the press circuit, calling out the show for using its platform to spread lies and destroy reputations, especially young, impressionable ones.
Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might...
The internet lit up with memes, hot takes, and furious debates. Commentators from every corner of the web joined in, some defending Goldberg, others cheering on Rogan and Kirk for refusing to let the issue slide. And through all the noise, one thing became clear. This was no longer just a moment of media misjudgment. It was turning into a cultural showdown with real consequences. And it wasn't just political junkies getting involved. Celebrities, influencers, and commentators from all sides chimed in, turning Whoopi's slip-up into a viral disaster. Screens were flooded with reactions. Joe Rogan, never one to let things slide, took the controversy and ran with it, analyzing every angle, mocking every excuse, and making sure his audience knew exactly why this mattered. "People aren't stupid," he shouted on his show. "They see the game being played, and they're tired of it." His words echoed across platforms, sparking even more fire. Meanwhile, Goldberg seemed trapped in a media maze with no exit. Each silence, each refusal to speak further, only made the situation worse. The View tried to move on, but audiences weren't ready to forget, and neither were Kirk or Rogan. Their voices only got louder as the scandal dragged on. Charlie Kirk's outrage wasn't performative, it was personal. He called out the show for recklessly associating his organization with hate groups that had absolutely nothing to do with them. Joe Rogan nodded to that very point, saying the mainstream has become more about spin than facts, and this entire debacle was proof of it. Even longtime viewers of The View began raising eyebrows. Had Whoopi gone too far this time? Was her credibility finally cracking? Rogan's breakdown of the situation didn't leave room for doubt. He called her out on every missed detail.
Culture shift between right and left authoritarianism, and now people don't recognize that if you just stop looking at it in terms of red and blue, look at the actions, whether it's war, suppression of free speech, pharmacological interventions that are mandatory, right. whatever it is, that used to all be associated with the authoritative right, the authoritarian right, and now those things are being embraced by the left. And I just think it's just an ideology thing. And I think we get confused and we think we're on the right side. We're on the right side. And if it's our side that's saying this, for sure that's the right thing to do. And no one's critically thinking about this.
Joe Rogan is the gateway drug for young men that thought they were Democrats to become MAGA. Joe Rogan is the bridge. And on that bridge, they'll see RF.
Every misleading phrase, every shaky excuse. While Whoopi had once been known for her wit and poise, now she looked shaken quiet, tense, and clearly rattled. In the world of modern media, that kind of silence speaks volumes. Critics saw it as a sign that she was cornered and unsure of how to bounce back. Rogan's fans began flooding comment sections, calling it one of the best takedowns of the year, and praising him for speaking truth without fear. At the same time, Kirk's supporters demanded accountability, arguing that it wasn't enough for The View to move on when real damage had been done. The $100 million lawsuit became a rallying point, a symbol of standing up against what they saw as elite media bullying. And the wild part, Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk never even shared a stage. They weren't working together, but their combined firepower created a media explosion. It was like watching two wrecking balls hit the same wall from different directions, leaving nothing but rubble behind. Even people who didn't usually care about politics or talk shows started paying attention. It was that intense, that dramatic, that gripping. By now, Whoopi wasn't just trying to repair her words, She was trying to salvage her image, her standing, and her role as a cultural voice. She tried to carry on like nothing happened, but everyone could tell the spark was gone. Every comment she made now came under a microscope, dissected by viewers hungry for the next misstep. Social media didn't rest. Memes mocking her apology popped up everywhere. Some featured Goldberg nervously holding cue cards, while others pasted "My bad" across her face in bold red letters. Every move she made felt reactive, not calculated, not bold, just damage control.
The reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience, The View, would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last week.
Yeah, they have nothing else.
Is that show has this very specific ideological bubble in which they operate in, you know, and they always bring on a token conservative woman and they yell over her and silence her, and you know they did that with Meghan McCain, and they did that with what is that other blonde woman from Survivor? Do you remember her, Jamie? She was always yelling. I mean, it's just it's a bizarre show.
She looked less like a seasoned host and more like someone trying to dodge falling bricks in a collapsing studio. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan's breakdowns were going viral. He even joked that The View needed a reality check, saying, "When you throw rocks from a glass house, don't act surprised when it shatters." That clip alone racked up millions of views in days. Comments poured in, with fans calling it satisfying, long overdue, and peak Rogan energy. And just when things couldn't get worse for Whoopi, Charlie Kirk doubled down. He released a scathing video calling The View a relic of outdated, elitist media. He didn't just want an apology, he wanted consequences. "There's no forgiveness without accountability," he declared, sparking a new wave of heated online debates. Even conservative lawmakers began weighing in, praising Kirk for standing up to what they called smear merchants in designer suits. Podcasters, pundits, and influencers were feasting on the chaos. Every headline felt juicier than the last. This wasn't just news, it was a cultural clash in real time. Goldberg's silence became deafening. No statements, no posts, no interviews, just scripted banter on the show and a strange smile that never quite reached her eyes. One media critic wrote, "It's like watching someone pretend they're not drowning while their feet are tied to an anchor." And that anchor was every clip, every quote, every second of footage being shared and reshared with brutal speed. Meanwhile, Rogan took a victory lap without even trying. He moved on to other topics, but clips of his takedown stayed front and center. Kirk, on the other hand, was laser-focused. He kept the pressure on, insisting that the lawsuit was just the beginning of holding media figures accountable.
So I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back, is The View. You want to talk about that show, if the CIA is engineering, Antifa and fucking the Capitol riot, some crazy misogynist engineered The View, because there's nothing worse than The View. In terms of there are so many brilliant women out there. None of them are on The View. None of them have gone near the set of The View. I mean, they have brought in the lowest tier of the, what is it, the Y chromosome?
No, double
the
X.
Okay.
Double X.
They brought in the lowest of the double X's.
He even hinted at more legal action to come, stating, "This wasn't just a mistake. It was a targeted attack, and we're not backing down." Behind the scenes, rumors swirled that ABC execs were panicking. Whispers of PR firms, legal consultants, and late-night meetings filled the gossip columns. Meanwhile, The View's ratings took a hit. Some fans boycotted, others just lost interest in watching a host who looked like she was dodging shadows. Even supporters of Goldberg couldn't deny that this time she had miscalculated big time. It wasn't just one bad comment, it was how she handled the fallout that made everything worse. The contrast between Whoopi's uncomfortable silence and Rogan's unshakable swagger was glaring. And Charlie Kirk, he was the flamethrower, torching the studio from the outside. For many viewers, the scandal wasn't about politics anymore. It was about fairness, truth, and seeing someone finally get called out in a way that couldn't be ignored. The internet never sleeps, and neither did the headlines. The longer Goldberg stayed silent, the more people started to ask, does she even stand by what she said anymore? And with each passing day, the storm only intensified. This wasn't just a moment, it had become a victory of words. There was no hiding from it anymore. Whoopi Goldberg, once seen as untouchable, was now the face of a media fiasco unraveling in real time. The world was watching, waiting, wondering, would she speak up, defend herself, or just let it all fall apart in silence? But as the days dragged on, it became clear Whoopi wasn't ready to fight. And that silence, it was louder than anything she could have said. Viewers took it as defeat, an admission without words. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan had moved on to new controversies, fresh debates, but his fans kept bringing the Goldberg saga back like a prize trophy. The clip of his takedown became one of the most shared moments of the month, etched into internet history like a scar on pop culture. And Charlie Kirk, he wasn't done either. He continued making appearances, rallying support, pushing the lawsuit forward with relentless energy. He even joked, "At this rate, I should thank them. They've proven everything I've been saying about the media for years." His supporters were louder than ever, calling The View a dinosaur and demanding it either change or shut down for good.
Worried about losing your job, and
Yeah.
you're worried about podcasts taking over, and who's the source of news, and we said Donald Trump was Hitler, but half the country disagreed with us, and he won, and this is okay. And Joe Rogan believes in dragons. Do you see what Whoopi Goldberg said?
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg said that Biden could arrest all the Republicans and put them in jail. You just need to see how unhinged this kind of thinking is. Well, you know what Joe Biden could do? Joe Biden, you have to see it because it's so
On TV.
crazy.
She said
I don't want to say too much, but we're going to have a lot of fun at the Department of Education. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Can I tell you something? Like, I've had quite a few people contact me about that particular post. Like, I'm sure I have 1/100th of what you're getting, but people are contacting me about cabinet posts. I'm like, I got
look,
nothing.
I mean, I'm actually, after this conversation.
Media outlets tried to spin the narrative, calling the backlash overblown, trying to paint Goldberg as misunderstood, but the internet wasn't buying it. In a world where every second is recorded, clipped, and replayed, there's no room for a sloppy apology followed by silence. Whoopi's credibility had taken a beating, and even those close to the show started to admit it would be a long road to recovery if that was even possible. What made it worse was how easily Rogan and Kirk dismantled her. One used sharp analysis and calm breakdowns, the other fiery punches and unapologetic anger. And both worked. It was a double strike that left Whoopi staggering with no backup, no defense, and no plan. The memes never stopped, and neither did the analysis. Every expert, every media critic weighed in, and most of them agreed. This wasn't a good look for Goldberg. For a figure with decades of influence, it was a hard fall. She wasn't just criticized, she was steamrolled, mocked, and made into a digital punchline. And maybe that's what stings the most. Not just the public backlash, but how quickly it all collapsed. One moment, she was the sharp-tongued queen of morning TV. Next, she was trending on Twitter for all the wrong reasons. No matter how you look at it, this clash changed the game. It was a wake-up call to every public figure who thinks their platform makes them invincible. Because in this new era, one wrong sentence can turn into a media inferno, and if you're not ready, you will get burned. The View is still on air, but it's not the same. The energy's different, the sparkle's gone, and that underlying tension, it's impossible to ignore. Rogan and Kirk walked away from the firestorm stronger, bolder, and more popular than ever, while Goldberg was left trying to pick up the pieces of her public image. In the end, this wasn't just a scandal, it was a cultural moment, a massive reminder that no matter how powerful your platform is, you better come prepared. Because when the spotlight turns harsh and your critics are sharper than ever, only the truth will keep you standing. And for Whoopi Goldberg, that spotlight didn't just expose a mistake, it exposed the fragility of a legacy built on boldness, but undone by silence. One thing is for sure, the game has changed. And if you step into today's media arena unprepared, you're going to get knocked out.